what I would, this is close to the knuckle. Societal consciousness. Not only are you a man and you have mental health issues, which you talk very openly about, but has all of that been affected by the fact that you're also black?
Yes, let's talk about it. Okay, so yes, being a man is one thing, and having mental health challenges is a challenge, but being black, it's been difficult. It's been difficult because in our culture, in black culture I should say, in the USA, black men are thought of as tough and really strong, like the manliest of the manly men. And so keeping that image is an important part of our culture. And the other thing is, we are a culture of honor, I always tell people, and a lot of minority cultures are. Meaning, as a black man, if you said something and disrespected me, you know, I might pause, I'm not gonna respond back, some people might, but I'm gonna be angry and my blood is boiling inside because you disrespected me, you said something about my race, whatever. That's coming from a culture of honor, where you're not supposed to get disrespected. So a lot of times in our culture, discussing mental health is disrespecting yourself.
Oh, that's an interesting one. Okay, can you elaborate on that? I've never thought of it that way.
Well, in the United States, black people have been through a lot. There was slavery, civil rights movement. I mean, even now we're struggling in our society with a lot of racial issues. So to be black is a scary thing. You know, we live in a world where there's all these police shootings and videos about that coming out. So, you know, when I go to certain parts of the United States, I'm not going to say that I'm completely scared, but, you know, my eyes are open, thinking something could happen. And so we do our best to hold it together, to be strong, and to have pride in ourselves, you know, because we've come a long way. I mean, we had our first black president, you know, and that's a whole nother subject.
That was fantastic.
It was, but the thing is, when you bring up mental health in our culture, because it's so confusing, because it's so frustrating, and because it exposes vulnerability, when you talk about depression, I mean, even if you're not crying talking about it, you're showing some level of vulnerability.
Yeah.
And for many of us, we equate that with disrespecting ourselves, with weakness. And so one of the things that I've been on a mission to do is redefine what it means to be a strong black man or a strong black woman. I did an article on this, depression versus the strong black man. You like that? They're at war. And I Googled strong black man, because that's where you find everything, Google, right? And I could not find a definition.
Really?
Yes, so it's a term that's thrown around,
but
there's no exact definition. Interesting, right?
Yeah.
So I felt at that point very compelled to say, look, we have to define that for ourselves. So that's going to be a really important thing. The other challenge in the black community is poverty in America. And it's just what it is. There's an economic difference between people of color and everyone else. And because of that, you have less access to healthcare, less access to resources, but most importantly, less access to terminology. So a lot of times in black culture, we don't use the common mental health terminology. Trauma, you know, depression, meltdown, things like that. So in order to remove that stigma, it's going to be important to understand the language. I think that's true for anything. It's just to understand the language around it. So that's, you know, what's going on in the United States with black people and mental health.
I just want to hug you.
You get a hug.
Oh, it shouldn't be that way. But then I guess in a way, what you're saying about black people, and it's similar to the male-female thing.
Very similar.
But I feel as though the male-female thing has come further, quicker. Than the black-white thing has.
And you know, one of the things we talk about in the United States is implicit bias, meaning if a white person sees a black teenager, they implicitly, unconsciously believe that they are more of a threat than a white teenager. And again, that's not someone consciously saying, I'm going to judge you because you're black. And as we become more aware of those biases, That's going to be the change that needs to happen. The other thing is, like, we're sitting here having an uncomfortable conversation, and I know actually it's comfortable for me, but uncomfortable for others. I should say that.
Yeah.
And we are unwilling as a society to have the uncomfortable conversations, and it has to become normal.
Yeah, it does.
And it's okay to say to someone, "What is your experience being a black person, being a woman? Help me understand." It's okay to say that, and we are like walking on eggshells in the world right now with not wanting to offend people, and we were talking about this before. So I think it's really important, again, to have those uncomfortable conversations.
Absolutely.